52 Kansas. They're at the line. 6:45 to go. They probably will win against Penn, a 16 seed. Good competitive effort by Penn so far today. And, of course, the great game early with Rhode Island and a good game with Gonzaga that dodged the upset bug. Almost got nailed. Did not make free throws, which hurt them too. But win 68-64. And look, Bob, Greensboro had played 3 ACC teams this year. They lost 60-48 at Virginia, lost 75-71 at Wake, and beat NC State.
Not bad, huh?
On the road.
Yeah, so that should have given Gonzaga a signal of what was to come.
And that's why they probably were a 13 seed, because they played well against the ACC.
Instead of being something like a 16
right.
seed, you mean? Yeah, exactly.
Well,
their guards played well. Alonzo and Troy really played well. They had 16 points apiece, and their interior guys did a good job against the interior guys of Gonzaga, which is a strength, although Jonathan Williams led Gonzaga with 19 points and 13 boards, so that was their best player, although Norvell made the 3 that counted the most, that gave them breathing room at the end of the game.
A tricky game for Gonzaga last year into the finals, and here they start the NCAA tournament first, 11 o'clock in the morning local time, and they're playing a team they've never heard of in Greensboro. So, I mean, not too far away from Gonzaga. I don't know how far Seattle is or Gonzaga is from Boise.
Seattle is a long way from everywhere.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But they were the closest one.
How do you get to Boise from Seattle?
There's probably directs. There's probably directs. Yeah.
Right. So they are staying. Gonzaga now will be in the they play the Ohio State South Dakota State winner, and that game will be next, and we'll be on top of that. Bob, the only game right now that's interesting that we can keep an eye on from the second half perspective, and it looks like Kansas will pull away against Penn and get an 11-point lead. Penn played pretty well here so far today. They did lead 21-11 at one point. Kansas, the alley-oop dunk, they have a 13-point lead, so they will advance. Is Kansas team good enough to go to a Final Four?
Well, they have a number 1 seed, so a lot of people think they're good enough, but in my estimation, I'm not so sure. I just don't see the strength on the interior that they typically have, and when I think about them against some of the bigger, stronger teams like Arizona or Duke or North Carolina has a very strong
Michigan State's in their bracket.
Michigan State. It's I know they're the 1 seed, but I'm not seeing it.
You're not. Are you surprised this game has just been competitive so far today?
I give the credit to Penn and Steve Donahue and what a good job he has done coaching. I mean, Kansas is far superior athletically and skill-wise to Penn. But Penn, I think the fact that the Ivy League now plays a mini-conference tournament helps them in the NCAA. Before, they were the only league that crowned their champion by the regular season and were not used to conference tournament action. And now they are used to it, and I think they did a good job.
So you think playing the 2 elimination games before they get into the NCAA helps them a little bit from the
I don't think there's any doubt about it, because previous to that, no Ivy League player had any kind of experience in tournament play. So I think it's very, very good for them. I'm glad they did it. I know there are some people who are traditionalists in the Ivy League that do not want that, but Loyola Chicago, by the way, is up 20-15.
2017. Bob's got that game, and so do I. So we keep an eye on the Rambling Ball Club. I hear Duke's up 17 here against Iona. Problem with Iona is Iona likes to run with everybody. They think they're as good athletically as some of these great teams. They did it last year against Oregon. They got hurt. And, you got to play a certain way against Duke. Keep the score down. Get them into a situation, maybe second half. Get them in a little foul trouble. Running up and down with the team that's got about, 4 NBA players on it might be a little tricky, and they've done that in this first half.
Yeah, but you know what? It's hard to you got to go to the dance with the one who brought
That's
you
fair
kind of
too.
Thing, right?
That's what they do.
It's hard to change just for a single game, and you can't blame them for that. I mean, you go after it, you give it the best shot when you're a low seed against the high seed, and you just see where the chips fall.
Yeah. All right. So we've got 6 games under the belt. We had a couple last night, Bob. We should spend a second or two on. Really, the early games. Texas Southern, which was 0-13, that now won a game. They were 0-13. That team. Think about that for a second. And of course, we know about Radford, who beat LIU. The Pac-10 did not look good here. UCLA and Arizona State. I think that's the big picture for me.
Yep.
Both went on to play in the first 10 games, a conference that only got 3 teams in. You yesterday was saying that maybe they should have gotten a couple more in, and they only had 3 teams in, and 2 of them get knocked out in a playing game scenario. What's your take on that for a sec?
Well, I think that the Syracuse game against Arizona State was more interesting to me than the UCLA loss. Arizona State played well. It was a tight game until the end. It was a pace game. Syracuse averages 67. Arizona State averages 84. So they wanted to go up and down the court. Syracuse did not let them do that. Syracuse played brilliantly defensively with their zone, and explaining it on television is a very hard thing to do because it's complicated. But leave it to Jim Boeheim knows how to coach, and when he can get you to pass the ball to areas where you don't want to go. And even though Arizona State was making some threes, they weren't getting enough balance in their offense. The game was 60-something to 58 or something like that. So Syracuse was brilliant in their effort in that game.
Right. Does it tell you anything about the Pac-12 for you that there are 2 out of their 3 teams are home without even making the main field? Does that tell you something?
Yes, it does. And maybe the committee was right on determining where they were. Holiday, who was a great guard for UCLA this year, was not good in the game, and he was something for 2 for 16 or something like that.
Made his first couple shots and then did nothing after that.
Yeah, and then of course they played St. Bonaventure, who was really out to prove themselves, and they were excited. They hadn't won a game since 1970 in the NCAA tournament, and they have 2 guards, Mobley and Adams, who are very, very good. And Adams, who is a great player, averages like 20 points a game. He also had a bad game. I think he was 2 for 17 or something like that.
He made the big shot,
He made the big shot at the end. Exactly.
And by the way, that your little buddy that you were talking about yesterday, the little guard that you couldn't remember on the St. Bonnie's team from Lanier, was it Bill Kimbaugh?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Bill Kimbaugh. There you go. Thank you, man. That's great.
I looked that up today, and there you have it. So
I had a hard time going to sleep on that one. It was running through my mind.
So that was Kimbaugh, who is still alive and was rooting for St. Bonnie's the other day. So I think a bad setup for the Pac-12.
Yep, no doubt
not
about it.
good.
No doubt about it.
They had 2 teams. Arizona was favored. Arizona State was favored. Arizona State and UCLA were both favored and both lost in the first round.
Yeah. It's interesting that in the Pac-12, and you think of the power conferences, but, there are some, not antiquated, but some older gyms there that aren't very great. When you start comparing facilities in some other conferences, like in
Stanford's
the Big Ten,
got an old gym.
Yes. Cal has an old gym, and
USC still playing in the sport. No, they built
a new one, which is one of the nicer ones. And of course, the Arizona schools are fine, and Utah and Colorado are fine.
Washington's old, though. Washington State's old.
Yeah. Oregon State, all those. So, I think they've got to do something to upgrade a little bit in that conference. Now, they do have great players on the West Coast. Los Angeles, a very fertile area for all of the teams out there. Arizona recruits nationally, of course, and internationally. So, they need to reevaluate and take a look at themselves.
All right, Bob Wenzel, yours truly, Christopher Russo. Let's take a break. You know where you stand with the games. Duke off to a good start late first half. Kansas is going to withstand Pennsylvania. They have a double-digit lead with about 5 minutes to go. Loyola and Miami are tight. We will continue here on Mad Dog Unleashed right after this.